Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to actor Parvesh Cheena, one of the stars of NBC's wonderful ensemble comedy, Outsourced. Stick around. The interview will start as soon as I finish playing Whack-a-Gupta at NBC.com. So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview. You know, MrMedia.com, MRMedia.com. Stop by and check it out. There are more than 700 archived celebrity and pop culture interviews for your listening pleasure. The show is brought to you today by Audible. Audible is offering Mr. Media listeners a free audiobook download and a 14-day trial offer to give you a chance to check out their very cool service. I love listening to books on tape. If you've never tried it before, actors or sometimes the authors themselves read to you. It's great for the commute, the beach, or even unwinding before bed. You can choose a free audiobook from Audible's enormous library of titles, including today's top Indian bestsellers, such as Vikram Seth's wonderful story, A Suitable Boy, Sarah McDonald's Holy Cow, an Indian Adventure, or even Narinder Dhami's Bollywood Babes. You could even download Will Eisner's A Spirited Life, the biography of the comic book and graphic novel legend, which I wrote and will read to you personally. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience of people who may think they can top my Whack-a-Gupta score of 725 in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida.
You may think you're the boss, Rajiv, but you answer to Todd, and I have him wrapped around my little finger.
No, Todd is wise, and someday he'll see you for what you truly are.
Who's going to tell him? You? You don't work here anymore.
What?
Didn't you hear? You were dismissed because you struck me when no one else was looking.
I would never raise my hand.
Rajiv! No! Not in the face. Hi! Ha! 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 Ha!
So that's what you're going with? Gupta slapped himself?
A few things I learned about Gupta, perhaps the nuttiest sitcom character on network TV in years. He can't drive. Not a bike, not a car. He likes to watch. His boss. In bed. Sleeping. Not sleeping. He loves the break room cookies. Sorry, Madhuri. He looks a lot like his glasses-wearing cousin.
Yes, darling. I hope you have a wonderful bachelorette party, too.
Thank you for calling Mid-American Novelties. This is Gupta. How can I... Please hold.
Thank you for calling Mid-American Novelties. This is Alok.
Gupta, you don't need the hat and the glasses.
Please hold. If you want to
Talk to Alok.
you have to...
Talk to him by name.
Gupta. Gupta. Alok.
Yes. Have we met?
He knows how to wear a giant ear and spy on his bosses. And he can break into Bollywood-style song and dance at a moment's notice. When Outsourced debuted on NBC last September, I have no doubt that Gupta, played to perfection by Parvesh Cheena, was one of the characters that set the tongues of TV critics wagging. He was a stereotype, and not a good one at that, they thought. But given some space to become a three-dimensional figure, Gupta was discovered to be the essence of sweetness, with a few necessary TV quirks. He could just as easily have been Kenneth the Page on 30 Rock, or even Creed on The Office. And as the actor playing Gupta, Cheena, like his goofy, guileless counterparts on other NBC Thursday night shows, had to let go of all inhibitions, and he succeeded magnificently. Parvesh Cheena, welcome to Mr. Media.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Delighted to have you here. Did you ever think? Did you ever dream when you shot the Outsourced pilot how off this world Gupta might one day be?
Well, I'm, originally, and it's funny that you mentioned some of Kenneth the Page from 30 Rock and Creed, I'm a devotee of like 30 Rock and The Office, the single camera comedies on NBC. So when I was going in for the first audition, I was definitely thinking like, all right, he's Kevin meets Dwight with a little bit of Stanley and a dash of Creed from The Office. That's the archetype I kind of like set forward. But Ken Kloppis, our director of the pilot, and also one of our producers, and Ken also directed the bunch of episodes of The American Office, as well as their pilot. So he was the one who really fashioned it to be a little sweeter. And it was kind of had to remind me, like, remember, he likes his job, versus some of the people at The Office do not.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that got me about the show all season was it really is just kind of, to me anyway, it's kind of the Indian Office. I mean, you've got the same types of characters. There's a wonderful ensemble interaction, and there's a nuttiness about each and every one of them.
Yeah, we'll take that compliment because, again, having Ken as kind of like our guide, our kind of like our godfather of comedy, he, that comparison just, tickles me since I've watched every episode of both the British and the American Offices. And I think it also just, the other compliment in that is that every office can be the same, whether it's in Mumbai, Chicago, Scranton, or Pawnee, Indiana.
Well, I don't know about that. I won't mention it by name, but I don't think that show in Pawnee, Indiana holds a candle to Outsourced. That's just my opinion.
Oh, very kind.
Some people have a misplaced sense of comedy if they're watching that show and finding it amusing. I just don't. It's just not there. But anyway, we're not here to bury them. Maybe that would be nice. Do you have some favorite moments from this season for Gupta?
Well, obviously for me is the Bollywood episode, Star is Born, because that's like the dream episode where I can show, my mom just recently went to India and, not illegally, she did not illegally bring an episode. She had bought her episode on iTunes, and so she showed, some of my relatives, particularly my grandparents, and that, is the one story that they can really jump on board and get, kind of. That's the thing that really tickled them. So I'm very proud of that, to, have on record, on proof, me doing a Bollywood dance, choreographed and different locations and overhead crane shots. So I'm very proud and lucky for that moment. And I hope I rose to it, because I was a little nervous. And I think they even, joked with me. I think some of the writers and producers were like, regardless, we knew it was going to be funny, but we didn't know that you could dance like that. And so I'm like, that's why that's why I've been sore this entire week, because of all the practice. That's my favorite moment, I'd have to say, on screen. But off screen, I mean, it's just too many to count. One of my projects this summer is to literally go through all of my, the videos that I've shot on my phone and photos of us, taking photos of Anisha every time she tries to eat something, because we say that she eats like a good, proper Desi woman very fast. Of those and photos and videos of Rizwan falling asleep, or every time we'd hide, Anisha and I would hide in Sasha's room and wait until he came in and surprise him and then run out. I mean, it was like college. It was like college and high school all over again. The idea, Anisha and Sasha's dressing rooms. We had dressing rooms. We didn't have trailers. We were in a building. They were across from mine, and I was next to Ben, and Sasha was next to Riz. Diedrich, Pippa, and Rebecca were on the other side of the elevators, but the five of us were on one side, and we would just, literally be running between each other's rooms, and let alone, I hope that shows up on screen, that chemistry and love, but it's total family. Sasha and I we're all watching the episode tomorrow night. Every week we've watched the episode as a cast, whoever's in town. Anisha just went to Prague and Paris, so she missed it, and I was in Chicago for a bit, so I missed one of the episodes. But every time whoever's in town, we get together, one of the cast members, one of the directors, one of the producers' houses. We just rotate.
I think that comes across completely on screen. You get the sense, and certainly the audience wants to get the sense, that this group of people, whether the characters or the actors, really seem to like and enjoy being around each other.
Yeah, and sometimes it rings inauthentic. I've seen it. I know I've seen the two cast members from one show, and they're like, "Oh, we love each other," And I'm trying so hard to make it, know that it's not bullshit. I mean, it is, or BS. Forgive.
That's okay. You can say that here.
Great. No bullshit at all. We really, honestly love each other. I know Rebecca, I think, is at Cannes right now, so we're going to miss her this Thursday. But, Rizwan, texted me last. I mean, it is constant. So we are almost too engaged in each other's lives. My boyfriend and I, we just babysat Riz's kids while Riz was out of town for a speaking engagement. So we had to help his wife because they have a month-old. Mm-hmm. So it's family.
Well, you guys also interact with each other a lot on Twitter, I think I've noticed. Yeah,
Rizwan and I do have this thing where, he makes it seem like he hates me. And I think sometimes he really does, but I know the truth. But Rizwan and I like to fight on social media. It's just easier that way. It's easier for Riz to be nice to you by being mean to you.
Well, that's why the character works so well for him, I guess.
Yeah, he's not acting at all. That's just his second skin.
So then I have to ask you, in the recent episode where he slaps you, how many times did it take for him to feel like he got it right?
Well, we started that because I'm a whore for laughs as it is. So we had tried it out before when Rizwan was in. There's a scene where when Ben gets sick for homesick to my stomach. This episode where he does have some street food, and the joke about when you go to South America or anything, you take your shots, acidophilus, all that stuff. He had some street food and he can't handle it. Riz takes over, and there's this point where he's in the episode where he's ordering me around, and we said slap me. And we tried it then in that episode, and we gave them the impetus for that episode. Ah. Robert Borden, our showrunner, said that because of our attempts to get a slap in that episode led to that one a few episodes later. And, yeah, we did it. We definitely did it a lot. Rizwan, to be fair, Rizwan and I are masters of stage combat, so it never hurts.
Oh, good. Well, I asked you earlier what was your favorite moment or moments from the show. I got to tell you that my favorite Gupta moment had to be that episode, Gupta's hits and Mammit's losses.
Yeah.
I mean,
the whodunit. It's a total whodunit. You still don't know the true story until the very end.
Well, and that was it. And the repeated retelling of, and for folks who may not have seen it, Rajiv slaps Gupta, and there's this back and forth untelling. And then, that brilliant scene at the end where Gupta confesses what really happened, what provoked it. And, you see the scene with the giant ear and him tuning in and back and forth. And, of course, him, Gupta, you, looking through the hole in Todd's ceiling, your floor, and, telling him, what is it? It's a talk hole, not a...
It's a talk hole. Everyone has that, right?
That was great.
So, then I was in the break room.
Wait. So he hit you because you listened in on his phone call?
Todd, it's a talk hole, not an interrupt hole. As I was saying, I was in the break room and I just couldn't control myself.
Your tea break's over, get back to work.
In a minute, I'm almost done.
Right now, you cookie-gobbling swine.
Yes, sir.
As you wish, sir. What did you say?
Nothing, sir.
I am going, sir.
As you wish, sir.
Say that again and I will slap you.
Oh, don't you need your father-in-law's permission for that? You slapped me? You can't do that! And so I feel like I am partly to blame. Wait. Don't react until I switch to my eye.
Gupta, no matter what you said, Rajiv shouldn't have hit you.
You can't fire him. His father-in-law will call off his marriage and it will be all my fault.
What I liked about the writers, I love continuity stuff, like jokes that come back in reference to something like 4-8 episodes ago. So I love the fact that happened. That talk hole, from when I moved in to Todd's boarding house is there. It wasn't fixed. It's now a part of our world. So I love stuff like that.
I love it when his character says, wasn't that supposed to be fixed 2 weeks ago?
Exactly. That stuff is brilliant. I love that exposition in one line, know?
Right.
It doesn't have to be nothing that hits the audience on the head with like, oh, yes, I remember that from when Gupta moved in and why wasn't that fixed? No, it's one sentence. Audience, our audiences are smarter than we ever think.
Or I mentioned to you before we went on the air that earlier today I'd spoken to Dietrich Bader, who plays, of course, Charlie on the show. And I told him, and he agreed. I mean, I thought another great moment with Gupta was when Charlie reaches out to Gupta for help understanding the culture, and at the end, this unexpected friendship is struck between them.
Yeah, it's wonderful, how in an ensemble show, I think of Friends, I think of other shows where you think it's going to focus on this one relationship, but how, alliances shift, and who bonds with who at different times. I always thought it was always going to be, honestly, I thought it was going to be Gupta and Manmeet would be the two friends, because they're both Indian and everything. But no, it definitely became Manmeet and Todd, were kind of besties. And the fact that Dietrich and I have such an odd couple vibe, even more so than Riz and I. Riz and I have an odd couple vibe too, but even that's inherent in the script, the scheming, smart assistant manager and the bumbling office employee. To have Charlie and I, first of all, he's so tall and I'm so short, so visually it's comic gold right there.
Mm-hmm.
But Dietrich is so giving as an actor. We were a little scared of him or nervous because he is the pro and the star on the show. 9 years on Drew Carey and so many cult movies from Napoleon Dynamite and Office Space, to let alone all the voiceover stuff he does. I just booked my first voiceover thing, and who did I email and ask for advice but Dietrich? So we were, all of the rest of us, it's our first series regular gig. Ben, Rebecca, Riz, Sasha, Nisha, and I. Pippa, I think, had some stuff in Australia, but at least in the States. Dietrich's the pro, so we would always ask him for advice, and just a very sweet, lovely man. His kids, his wife, they're all good, giving, honest people. So that turns out to be a surprise, and a wonderful surprise. You never know in this town in Hollywood that you always think everyone's going to have an ego or be a dick or whatever, but it's the opposite. I think the exception is when you meet someone who's rude or weird or mean. I think the norm is everyone is nice and happy to be working because we get to go to work and make each other laugh, and the fact that we get to have other people watch and laugh is it's icing on the cake.
Now, we talked before about the Bollywood episode. You've actually had a couple of opportunities to do a little singing and a little dancing. Was that something you auditioned for? Did they know that you could do that?
No,
more than a year ago?
Think so. I did study musical theater at Roosevelt University in Chicago. I went to the Chicago Conservatory of Performing Arts, and I wanted to be well-rounded. I like to think that I can carry a tune. In fact, I know I can carry a tune.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think my voice is one that people would ever oh, I can't wait to listen to Parvesh Cheena singing on CD. It's a character voice, so they gave me free range with that, and I'm not shy about it. I'm one of those people who just sing around, I'm not like Anisha. Anisha is our Broadway baby, Her backup gig last year was Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark on Broadway. That was her B plan. If Outsourced didn't get picked up, yeah, she would have done all the workshops. We actually, during taping, we saw right before Spider-Man went into its first round of previews, they showed the 60 Minutes clip and workshop, and there's Anisha singing with Bono.
Oh, for heaven's sakes! Now I have to go back and see that. I didn't realize it. Who was she going to play in Spider-Man?
I think she was workshopping Arachne, which I believe has been the part where people have been getting the concussions. And,
right.
You know, so we like to think that we saved Anisha Nagarajan's life.
That's so funny. I had the understudy, the long-term understudy for that role was America Olivo, and she's been on the show, and I had no idea.
Yeah, I know that because I know TV Carpio, who's doing the role, is friends of Anisha's. Mm-hmm. And it was a different actress who started the previous two, but she's the one who got the concussion. I believe Natalie Mendoza.
Right.
And so it is interesting. Like, so Anisha is our, you know, she is our Broadway baby. You know, I was with her in the sound booth when she was, I think this is what the Glee kids say, as she was laying down track. And so she was putting down her vocals for A Star Is Born, and I just remember like seeing her work it and know like where she wanted to add kind of like the Indian influence and trills, and just working with all the sound people of like where and how to do it, what to belt, what to, you know, bring back. I'm like, oh, I get it. You're a pro. So it's, you know, they didn't audition us. I think they knew obviously about Anisha because she was the lead of Bombay Dreams and everything. With me, it's just it's the difference of like it'll always still be funny. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's if you're bad and you just still, like you said, I think earlier, like if you have to be uninhibited. Comedy is not for, you know, nothing is half-assed. When you see that someone give that 60-70%, you know, mm-hmm. Oh, I'll just dance a little. I'll just shake my butt just a little bit. You know, no, you have to go for broke. Otherwise, it'll never sell.
Right. Well, you know, you mentioned going to college in Chicago. I think people are still a little surprised to find that you're not from India. You're from Elk Grove.
Yeah, I mean, I was born there. I grew up in, where did I grow up? I grew up in Aurora, Naperville. Mm-hmm. I'm a west suburban, Chicago suburban kid. You know, I love pizza. I used to wash my mom's Indian food because it was too spicy. I used to run the chicken under the faucet because I was such a snot. I was like, it's too hot. I don't like it. And that happened until I was in early high school. It wasn't until I went to college where I missed Indian food, and then I developed my, the spice factor of my tongue and being able to, handle Indian spice. Something happened age 18. I remember that's the first time I had Thai food and missed Indian food. So there is something we said that your tastes do mature.
Now I understand your taste may mature, but your cooking ability has not.
No, I can't cook. I cannot cook at all. My version of cooking for friends and family, anyone is where can I order out? I'm really good at taking it from the trays onto plates, but I just don't know why. I just have this. I can read. I can read a cookbook, but where I get lost is I can do the identical thing about a cookbook, but I get really impressed. This is why I love Top Chef and other meritocracy shows. That how do people know the dashes and the pinches and just this little pour of, oh no, that's too much oil. Wait, that's not enough. Mm-hmm. And how they add and doctor with it as they're cooking. That's the thing that fascinates me about cooking.
You could be onto something here. I would have never come up with the term to call those shows meritocracy shows. They're not reality shows anymore, dear. They're meritocracy shows. Hey, bring the kid over. Let's all watch a meritocracy show. I like that.
Well, I want to see some people do something that they excel at.
Yeah, I like that.
I'd love to see the reality meritocracy show, the person who makes the Persian rugs or the best valet, in LA kind of. I don't want to see people just drinking and having sex. Then I would just watch my friends.
Okay, that might be too much information, but okay.
No, but why? I don't want to watch strangers who I don't know
right.
hang out and drink and all they're given is copious amounts of alcohol. And when you're bored and you're drunk, I guess that's all they're going to do is hook up. I remember when the real world did begin. I'm aging myself, but I remember in late middle school, early high school when that show started. They were artists. I remember that first couple of seasons, they were all working, I think, either the music or the entertainment industry. And then all of a sudden it shifted to this thing where people's ambition was to just be on the real world. Or other reality shows. I'm like, come on, guys, have some ambition. I'd rather see you do the thing that you love and have it, filmed documentary style, but not just where all of a sudden you're playing to the camera, playing a certain stereotype, and you're not as talented as watching an actor who should be doing it. So
you will not be auditioning for the real North Shore?
No. I've never seen any of the Jersey Shores. I know that there's an audience, and I know that from my friends who do watch and say that they were watching it to feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
And I'm like, but I'd rather just look in the mirror and say you're a good person, and then move on with my day. I don't need half hours to prove it.
Wow. Well, let's bring the conversation back around to where we started. Where does Gupta fit into Rajiv's wedding tomorrow night?
Well, in typical Gupta fashion, he kind of messes up an aspect of the ceremony. And he and Diedrich, he and Charlie, Diedrich and I have a really fun time of trying to make things right. There's a part of some Indian religions where in the wedding festival the groom has to come in on a certain animal, generally a horse, and I wonder if it's I'm not too certain, but I wonder if some other cultures it's either donkey or mule or even perhaps a camel. Let's just say something happens to the horse this Thursday, and it could be my fault.
No.
Yeah,
no.
But in true Gupta fashion, he tries to fix it. I think the end result, and whether or not Rajiv gets married or not, lies in the hands of Gupta and Charlie.
Now, as we're talking the day before the season finale, I don't know. I suspect you don't know what Outsourced, what the show's ultimate fate may be.
No, we don't. We are. I'm not going to be too proud to admit it. I check online, check with my castmates constantly. We have no clue. I know that announcements are starting to be made. Fox has made some for the 2011-2012 season. We have not. We've not heard anything.
Well, if Outsourced gets, and I hope it will, I really hope it will, a last-minute reprieve from Cabletown, how do you how do you envision the next year of Gupta's life?
I think the big thing to follow with the show so far is I like that where it might be seen that we are wrapping up some things, which is nice. Because especially Rizwan's storyline with the wedding. He's talking about Vimy constantly, and it's not like a Frasier thing where Niles talks about his wife for the entire 8 years before we ever see it. I think it was Maris or something. So it's nice to have some closure in some aspects, and what that does bring up to the next one. For Gupta, he's still kind of bottom of the barrel here. And I think it was the big arc this season was a little bit of his independence, and that is that Western influence. Because I always used to not tease, but and hopefully not antagonize, but ask my relatives and cousins, as we got older, why don't you move out, And it's just not done. Women and men, you stay at home until you do get married, and then the women move into the husband's family, at least among my relatives, And so it is this aspect of if his job is getting secure, what does happen next for Gupta relationship-wise? I secretly always thought that I would be with Madhuri. I would tease Anisha that that's the spin-off right there. Gupta, Madhuri tolerates Gupta as opposed to Joni loves Cha-Cha.
I'm with you on that.
Now she has her own love line. Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
But Anisha, and she has her own romance starting up. So it is interesting that I wonder where that'll put me. I'll probably get with Latta is my friend Sharmila Devar, who sits in front of me in the office. But then also Tushari Jayasakara, who's kind of been killing it as Pinky. I could see her. She's the female version of Gupta.
Her on the Valentine's Day episode was just too funny.
Yeah, she is authentic. You know, she's got that. Tushari was born. She's Sri Lankan, so she was born and raised there before she came to the States. So sometimes she adds that air of authenticity that still, like a Chicago-born like me, has to still research, check in with relatives and friends before I can really deliver it.
Well, so if I hope it doesn't come to this, but if things don't work out for you on Outsourced, can you go back to being a sidekick on Doing It with Ethan?
Yeah, of course. Ethan will always need a cameraman, and I know how to frame things properly, so at least I've got that.
Very good.
And regardless of what happens, it's been a great year. You know, we did have a predominantly South Asian ethnic cast, you know, on an NBC major network sitcom, so we're grateful for that, too. Obviously, I hope it does continue, but I think we'll all keep working, you know, and hopefully this has set some of our careers in motion. Rizwan and I know definitely want to work together again, and Anisha as well. I think some people, you know, I know Ben is doing a stage play in New York right now, and hopefully some of us will do something. I'm shooting a movie with my friend Brian Dietzen. He's a series regular on NCIS.
Okay.
And he and another actor friend of his and ours, Abby Miller, they've written a film called Just Pretend, and Deborah Jo Rupp is in it also, so we start shooting next week.
Very good.
So that'll be a nice little summer gig. And then, in addition, I can't tell you what the animated series is that I'm doing yet, because we were told not to.
Oh.
They're keeping it hush-hush right now, but I can tell you it is based on a toy.
You know, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's already on IMDb, isn't it?
I don't know. If you say something, I will neither confirm or deny.
Oh, unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me. Well, well. Well, all right. Well, folks, listen, I'm begging you, watch the Outsourced season finale featuring the wedding of Rajiv. It's the most delightful, it's the most rewarding show on any network or cable channel this season. I promise you that. The show airs Thursday, May 12th, 10:30 p.m. on NBC. You can also catch it on demand on iTunes, on Hulu, or at NBC.com. Parvesh, you have a website. I think it's imparvesh.com?
No, it's just parvesh.com.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got that. And then
parvesh.com. And then Twitter is, I love Twitter, actually, because it's so immediate. Twitter is just also my first name. It's just at Parvesh.
Okay. And, hey, Parvesh, thank you so much for a great season of the show. I hope we get to talk about a second season soon. And thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for the support, and thanks for having me. My pleasure. My pleasure. And, folks, for more original interviews with the stars of Outsourced, surf over to our main website, mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. If you've enjoyed today's show, subscribe for free to Mr. Media via email, RSS, or iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many parts of Mumbai. Show your support of Mr. Media by supporting our sponsors, including Audible. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. If you've got an idea for a guest, a comment on today's show, or would like to advertise on Mr. Media, email me directly at bob@mrmedia.com. You can also follow Mr. Media on Facebook, Twitter, or our new YouTube video channel. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you giving up a piece of your day and spending it with Mr. Media. Thanks for listening.
Gupta, this is way out of line, man.
Actually, it's Rajiv. Notice the mustache? This punishment is torture.
What is he doing? Does he make you clean his apartment?
Worse, I have been playing board games for 5 hours.
Rajiv, I just landed on Park Place. I told you should have bought a hotel.
Help me.
Candyland!
Candyland? Aren't you guys a little old for that?
No, it's not the game. That's what he says every time he opens his cupboard.
It's your turn! Help me!
Hey, did you know that you can listen to the latest Mr. Media on your phone with the Stitcher app? Stitcher is smart radio for your smartphone. Mr. Media is on demand and on the go with Stitcher. Download Stitcher for your phone today. Get the free download at Stitcher.com. That's STITCHER.com.